Hey guys, this is Matt, and this is the Recklessly Skeptical podcast.
Hi, and I'm Josh.
And this is Joe.
And we have a special guest with us this week. He's going to join us for the news, our secular story, and for our topic.
Hi, Beau.
Thanks for being here, Beau. So first we want to jump in on the news. We wanted to talk a little bit about the France attacks.
Yeah, but real quick, let's plug the things that we usually plug. So if you want to find us on, if you're finding us on Spreaker, you can find us also on YouTube at Recklessly Skeptical. You can also find us on Facebook at the Evil Atheist group on Facebook. So now let's go to the France attacks.
I'm such a slacker, man. Thanks for keeping things straight, Josh.
I think it rules in the family, right, Joe?
Huh?
So I found a story, Raw Story is reporting, about a guy, his sister died in the attacks in France. And I just wanted to read his quote because I think it speaks a lot to how we should react to violence and terrorism. So the guy whose sister died said, and I quote, "Instead of responding with violent acts, we have to understand what is the cause of the problem and work together to try and prevent it." Then he reads a quote from the Bible, "But I say to you, do not resist an evil person, but whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also." And he also notes that he believes that religion was part of the problem. And there is another quote that I wanted to read because I think it speaks a lot too. "I worry that we'll make the same mistake as before, when the U.S. was attacked by responding to violence with violence." And I think this is very important. I think we should try and do it a different way. We're fighting an ideal, and I don't know if you can bomb an ideal.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think you can bomb an ideology specifically. I think you have to target them, and it's also important that we're not just talking. It's not the ideal of Islam. It's a specific segment of that, and there are a lot of people. I mean, I've heard said on Facebook quite a bit this week and on Twitter that these are the people that the moderate and the moderate Christians or Muslims are trying to run away from. This is the reason why people are fleeing Syria. Is this violence specifically?
I agree with that. I've seen a bunch of articles. I watched a video today from a right-wing friend who posted a video today, and it's another Muslim. He's just bashing on Muslim extremists, and he's like, "This is not Muslim," and he was just making a quick YouTube video, and he was pretty upset, you could tell. And then I've also seen a lot of these people, they write, "Terrorism has no religion," and I think that's wrong. I think most terrorists are religious, that's why. I don't know.
No, I agree. I think most terrorists, even right-wing terrorists here in the United States that bomb abortion clinics, they're doing it from a Christian ideology.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's important not to blame Muslims, but I think we can definitely look at Islam and Christianity because of their dogmas.
Yeah.
And when you have a dogma, a book that says awful, awful shit, I have the right to say something about it. But at the same time, we have to be clear that we're not bashing Muslims, but we do have the right to talk about Islam, the ideology, the dogma.
Yeah, and when I'm having conversations with people, friends of mine who are part of a religion, I try and show them things that they don't identify with. So when I'm talking to people who are Mormon or LDS, I show them things that, like the racist stuff that's definitely in the Doctrine and Covenants and definitely in the Book of Mormon. Just the racist stuff, I try and say, hey, you're not racist. You shouldn't identify with this. And I know that you don't. And so the cognitive dissonance there is what I feel is more effective, is take things that people are and show where that religion does not at all match what they actually truly believe. I think a lot of people are more humanistic than their religion prescribes or even allows for in most cases. Like, think about, and I'm going to just kind of talk about this one idea, and then I think we should move on to the next story. But I mean, do unto others as you'd want done unto yourselves. That is such a bland form of morality. Like, humanism ascribes to human beings something that's so much cooler. Like, you're a human being. You're fantastic. You have all these great traits just by being human. And I should treat you with dignity. It's not just I'm obligated to do what I'd want you to do to me. Yeah, I mean, it's so simplistic and it falls flat on its face. And modern morality is not... I mean, people add on to their religion what morality they think they should be, but really the religion itself doesn't prescribe any of that.
See, and I don't see Christians living, following every rule in the Bible or every sin. And if they did, we would be living in a very Middle Eastern, chaotic, terrorist country. Yeah. If everybody followed every single rule in the Bible, because the Bible is full of stupid rules and a bunch, and a lot of people know this, so they don't follow the rules in the Bible, but they do cherry pick when they find something they like. If it helps them pass a law against those gays because it's gross and I don't like it and it makes me uncomfortable.
Because I inside really want to touch penises. Of course,
they can find something in the Bible that will talk crap on it, and if it doesn't talk crap on it, they can make it sound like, it's against what they're going against.
I just wanted to say I agree with you, Josh. If people look at just, others as human beings, regardless of race, religion, or anything else, and realize everybody's got their own wants, needs, desires. People have basic, everybody really wants, take care of their family, do their best, live their life the way they want, whether they're Muslim, Middle Eastern, Christian.
Yeah.
If you just look at other people as human beings, we would have a lot less problems than we do in the world right now.
See, and I tell my children, too, be happy, find happiness, and don't mess with anybody else's happiness.
I pulled up humanism, and I just wanted to read it real quick, just in case some of you guys don't know what humanism is. So humanism is a philosophical and ethical stance that emphasizes the value and agency of human beings, individually and collectively, and generally prefers critical thinking and evidence, rationalism, over unthinking acceptance of dogma or superstition.
Yeah,
Sorry,
right.
I stuttered there for a second.
Right there, man. I'm a humanist.
Yeah, me too.
For sure. So I do want to interject now. I think that both me and Joe have had our phones go off so far in this broadcast. And we should come up with some kind of fucking punishment for that.
I think we should.
So what we should do is if anybody's listening, you should come up with some reasonable punishments for me and Joe to fulfill. And we'll record them and we'll put them up on our YouTube channel so you guys can see the pain and suffering from our stupidity of not silencing our cell phones before we start recording.
Well, I thought it could be something simple, like we could put a pickle jar out, throw a nickel in it every time, and then...
How about public humiliation, like sing some sort of top Billboard song?
Maybe.
I think that's in Walmart.
I think we should turn it to the listeners and let them decide.
All right, should we move on? We have other topics.
Yeah, so the next topic that we have written down is the Democratic debate. Did anybody besides me catch any of it?
No,
I was
sir.
busy. I did not watch it.
Did anybody catch any clips or
I
breakdowns?
did see some clips.
So what was the... I didn't actually get any of the analysis, the post-show analysis, but I stayed up late last night watching it. So I'll talk about what I saw watching it, but...
the clips I saw, it was just between Bernie and Hillary. And Bernie criticizing Hillary as being a supporter of Wall Street, and she defended it by saying after 9/11, Wall Street's right there by ground zero, and saying all this shit, and saying she needed to support them to help our economy not collapse after 9/11 or something like that.
Which it still did.
Yeah, that was the most asinine part of the show. Like, the collapse that did happen had nothing to do with the terrorist attack, and a lot of people were there rallying around our economy, and it wasn't just Wall Street. Like, serving Wall Street at that point, doing what she did later on, like giving them all these passes later on, had nothing to do with what was going on during the terrorist attack. But so for me, I watched the entire debate, and it was I hate what the Democratic Party is doing with these debates. Like, They're putting them at awkward times when people aren't going to be watching, like a Friday night. They're making sure that and the questions that are going out there are not showing exactly what you'd want to see in a real healthy debate. It's not drawing enough contrast in my mind between who does what or who's going to do what. But I mean, you can expect this because the Democratic Party has been essentially behind Hillary 100%. And that's why there have been so few and far between debates, and why I think that they're put on on a Friday night. And I don't think anything's going to change much. I mean, there was the dialogue was fairly good, so much better than the dialogue that you have during the Republican debates. But that's to be expected because that entire party is a shit show.
I am blown away when I watched part of the Republican debates.
Well,
they are morons.
Yeah.
See, and they kept complaining too about how the Democratic debates got off easy and all that stuff. But no, they didn't. They were asking Hillary some hard-hitting questions, which, is another reason why if you watched any of those, if you still support her, you're a nut.
Yeah, I don't think the needle's going to be moved much by watching what I did. O'Malley had a good performance. There wasn't much contrast drawn between what Sanders would do and what Clinton would do, or what their history is and exactly what they support. I think it did get very well. I think one thing that got pulled out pretty well about Hillary is that, yeah, she does support big business, and she's not going to do. She refers to this economic plan that she has that was built by people from Wall Street. Like, we're going to be tough on Wall Street, and we're going to have people from Wall Street decide what being tough on Wall Street looks like.
And these are the same people that crashed our economy. Remember that.
Yeah. These are people who were definitely working for the businesses that
That's
crashed
the
our
exact kind
economy.
of stuff that's been going on in Washington for years. Here, let's have the people who are going to benefit from this be the ones who write the regulation and the freaking and all the bills.
Exactly.
It's like putting someone on death row in charge of death row.
Yeah,
for sure. So instead of me monologuing about that subject anymore, let's move on to Joe. Do you want to lead us with this one?
What are we doing?
Lindsey Graham.
I don't know.
Oh, actually, no. It was Matt's story.
Yeah,
it was
I believe
mine.
that's Matt's story.
So Lindsey Graham said that he would shoot down Russian planes because they are bombing people we trained to fight in Russia. And it's pretty funny because most of the people we trained...
I think you meant Syria.
What did I say?
You said
in Russia. Yeah,
sorry.
I got confused.
Sorry.
I saw the look on
Syria.
Joe's face.
Syria.
Making sure I had heard right too.
Well, I'm glad. That's twice I've had to be put in check. So
You're right. They are bombing ISIS and all the people we've trained.
Yeah. Because all the people we trained have joined
ISIS,
ISIS and Al
took all the
Qaeda
weapons
affiliates.
we gave them. That's why they're driving our Humvees, people. Think about it.
Yeah, so I just think it's funny that Lindsey Graham, he wants to start World War III.
Does that?
Or if he doesn't realize he'll start World War III, he's just a nut.
But if
nutcase.
anybody who's followed Lindsey Graham at all, does that even surprise you?
No, it doesn't.
Not in the least bit.
Do they put a nut job in here every once in a while just to,
Well, as far as I'm concerned, all of the Republican candidates are nut jobs.
Well,
yeah.
And that's one of the things. Lindsey Graham's so low in the polls that he's trying to say something, anything that gets him back in the news, anything that makes him relevant at all. So yeah, he's going to say stupid shit that would get him, if he actually enacted that would start a world war.
World War
He's
III,
pulling
yes.
a Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But not as good.
No.
Because Donald Trump is the best.
I don't know these people. I don't know them. I don't know this little Mexican lady who cleans my house. The first time I've met her.
So there's Senator Graham's shitty, stupid idea.
Smart guy. So Obama, he said something about Bernie Sanders.
Okay, yeah. So ABC News, or I believe it was them. They were, it says ABC News exclusive. They were interviewing Obama. And they asked him a couple of questions about some of the Democratic
Candidates?
They asked him about Hillary. They're like, she's a longtime friend of yours. You guys are buddy-buddy, this, that, and the other. Would she make a good president? And Obama kind of chuckled and laughed, and he said, I'm not endorsing anybody, because there's no way in hell he'd endorse Hillary. And then they asked him about Bernie, and what he said about Bernie, he could have said the same thing. Like I said before, I'm not going to endorse anybody. You know, that would be keeping it clear. But he did have something to say about Bernie. He said, this is quote Obama, okay? I think Bernie is capturing a sense among the American people that they want to know the government's on their side, that it's not bought and paid for, that our focus has to be on hard-working middle-class Americans not getting a raw deal. And that's true. That's what Bernie is after. You know, he's not part of the establishment. He's not taking huge donations. You know, he's not bought and paid for like the rest of the government or most of the government.
Yeah, the candidates and the national senators and all of that.
Yeah, like and I don't know, and that's why Bernie is doing so well in the polls. I read another article. I think it was Friday before work, and I think he's got 15% over Bush, Bush, and like 10% over Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, and like he's landsliding over the Republican candidates.
Yeah,
and I think he's doing better than Hillary too. I wouldn't be surprised if.
Well, in international poll or in national polls, so GOP Democratic matchups, people, and this is one of the things that's always bothered me. People say, "Oh, Bernie's not a viable candidate. He's not electable. Like if he won the Democratic nomination, that he wouldn't be electable." There was a poll that came out just the middle of last week, I believe, and it showed that Bernie would win against most of the candidates by a landslide.
Yeah.
And so that's a bullshit line. Like, and he actually won by a bigger margin than Hillary was, to back up Joe's point. So I don't buy that line at all.
Well, I feel like it's a media blackout, like they did with Ron Paul.
Yeah.
They did do that with Ron Paul. Like it would even show Ron Paul in the leading in the polls against all the other candidates, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, there's Mitt Romney in first, and blah 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 in second, and this person in third, but Ron Paul was right there in first. It was a media blackout, and
Yeah, completely.
I'm sorry, most of these huge media corporations also give money to candidates.
They have a vested interest.
Yeah,
to
they
keep
do.
These establishment candidates in there.
Exactly.
Another cool thing about Bernie is when you poll the American people are actually in line with his policies, education, healthcare, and a lot of people think, oh, it's just a bunch of free shit.
How is he going to pay for all that?
Yeah, and so I mean, there's a number of different things that Bernie has supplied on his website. So if you go to BernieSanders.com, it shows what he's going to do to start paying for healthcare and for the colleges. So essentially, he's talking about socializing those two aspects of American life. And we'll get into this more in the second segment because I'm sure me and Beau will be able to explore that in a much greater sense. But he's going to put a tax on Wall Street, and he's also going to put a tax on the wealthy. He's going to raise taxes on the wealthy. And when he was pressed in the Democratic debate, he didn't know how much he was going to raise it to, but he said less than when Dwight Eisenhower taxed him 90%. He said that as a joke, but I mean, it shows that he's not afraid to say that he's going to tax the rich, and I don't have any concern that he would once he gets into office.
Yeah, it wouldn't be an issue. But and that's the thing. One of the neighbors, we were talking about how much some of these 1%ers make and how much a 1% tax on them would actually be, and it would be an huge amount of money, and it for the American people, but for them, it wouldn't even be a dent in anything
In their income.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be a dent. It really wouldn't.
And this is income that they're most likely hoarding anyways.
Yeah, and so it's not even being used, and we were even talking about that. What do you use all that money on?
And a lot of them.
What can you do with that money? There's nothing you can do. Even if you bought everything in the world, every little thing, and tried to use it all, you wouldn't be able to do it.
And the level of taxes that they actually pay with tax breaks and hiding their money overseas, I mean, it's bullshit.
And so going back to blackouts, I think Beau is going to lead the next segment. So I think that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, great transition. Recently, I think it was last week, the Presidential Debate Commission just announced their rules for this upcoming election cycle. Nothing has changed. Currently, there is a lawsuit by Our American Initiative, supported by the Green Party and their presidential candidate from 2012, Jill Stein, and also the Libertarian Party and their former presidential candidate, Gary Johnson, trying to sue to get into these debates. The Presidential Debate Commission, it's a private entity that was set up in 1987 to by the Democrat and the Republican Party. And they have, basically, the way they're set up, you need a 15% or better polling margin in, I think it's 5 different major polls, which most third-party candidates are not included in any of those at all.
Yes. Like in the questions or in the polls.
Questions, they poll like, oh, which candidate would you support? But it's set up purely by the Democrats and Republicans to keep everybody else out.
Yeah,
because,
and so the only people who can run are the people who are getting recognized in these polls, but the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, all these other parties can't even get recognized in the polls because they're not even in them.
No, and they're not. And a lot of, specifically those two parties, there's other third parties, but specifically those two have enough support to actually qualify where they could be elected. Basically, the lawsuit's saying anybody who is on enough ballots to actually be able to win an election should be included in these debates. And I think
absolutely,
I agree.
I think that would be great because it would expand the whole topic of conversation in the country.
Really, but besides these people and these people,
okay.
And when you look at other major countries, most of them have at least 4 parties.
Oh yeah,
a lot of them have 6 parties. We're like one of the only major countries where it's 2 parties.
Well, we have those parties. The other 2 parties aren't letting them in the game.
No, I know, but I mean they have a
presence in like their parliament or their Congress or whatever else.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. But businesses don't like that because then they have to buy off like twice as many people.
Oh, yeah. It's so much harder to buy off 7 parties than it is 2.
Yeah.
I think I've looked before in the United States and I think the UK are like 2 of the only major countries that are basically ran by 2 parties.
Yeah, if you
I
can look at the maps.
Look into more, but I've seen it around a lot.
And it shows like how their Congress is set up with all the seats.
Yeah,
and you
our
look at ours,
system
it's
is
red and blue. All the other ones, it's like green, red, blue, yellow. Like there's so many different people.
And most of the country don't really go in and educate themselves enough politically. They see these debates on TV and they pick left or right, A or B.
I like this guy more. I like the way he does his hair.
Yeah,
he's a good Christian. He has good Christian values.
Instead of actually looking into things. Yeah, I was talking. Never. I could go off.
And Hillary's a woman. We need a woman president.
Yeah. I agree. I would like to see a woman president one day. I would not like to see Hillary.
Yeah. But voting on somebody just based on their gender, based on something superficial like that, instead of based on the ideas that they have, is wrong.
I definitely think we need more of a voice because you look at the majority of Americans don't subscribe to either the Democrat or the Republican Party. Now those 2 combined are actually a minority. So we've got the majority of people looking for something different. We
like
need
the
more
Green
parties.
Party, the Libertarian. I consider myself a libertarian.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
there's a lot of other parties out there and a lot of different views. Justice Party, that somebody you don't have to fit into this exact mold of you're a Republican or a Democrat.
Yeah.
I remember the last presidential election. Didn't they try and sue the Presidential Debate Commission last time? And I'm guessing it didn't go anywhere because I thought I remember that.
I'm not sure about that. From what I've read, I'm pretty sure. I think Ralph Nader has tried suing them before. If I understand correctly, can't quote me on that. I think so, but I know this lawsuit just barely got filed a few weeks ago.
I support that lawsuit.
So.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
So we've got 5 minutes to wrap up the secular story. So Matt, why don't you go ahead with that?